Why the hell did he want to meet me in here?
Good, you're finally here. We can start your training. Now punch this chicken.
Tenderloins?
Hey man, times are tough. Now get punching.
Ah! Why is it frozen?
Because we're in a freezer.
We're supposed to do it in a cooler, you idiot! Raw meat, not frozen meat! God! Come on, you bum, let's get started!
Wow, okay. Welcome back to the Out of Touch podcast. I'm Chris, that's Bill, and today we are watching Rocky from 1976. So, Bill, what did you think of Rocky?
I love this movie.
It's a really, really good movie.
It's one of my favorites. This is a top 10 for me.
Yeah. I guess if you don't know what Rocky is, it's a movie about a boxer that gets a shot at the title through, I guess, like sheer dumb luck in some ways.
It's a complete fluke.
Yeah.
That he gets a shot. Like, literally, he gets practically chosen out of a hat.
Yeah.
It's a plot point in this movie that he gets picked just because of his name.
Exactly. So, yeah, this is Rocky. It's a pretty famous movie. Most people have seen it.
Or have seen a parody of it, or a sequel, or a parody of the sequels, or a movie that ripped it off, or was heavily inspired by it.
Yeah, but this is the original. I feel like it feels very different compared to like the movies that come after it. It's a lot more grounded, but it's such a good movie. I mean, it's got like a pretty interesting story with Sylvester Stallone like writing the script for it and trying to get it made and all that.
Yeah, massive struggle. Especially because they were like, yeah, we'll take this script, we'll put someone famous in it. It's like, no, I want to be in it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess this is the movie that pretty much made Sylvester Stallone famous.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You know, started his legendary run of all his other movies, so...
And by sheer chance, started a decade-spanning sports franchise.
Yeah. I really like this movie, and one thing that this movie does really well is Rocky is a really, really likable character.
That's always been one of the strongest aspects of the entire series. That Rocky Balboa, he's humble, he's friendly, he's nice. Everyone in the neighborhood loves him.
Yeah, he's like just like this goofy guy that likes animals and honestly like kind of talks a little too much with people. But you know, it's funny because you know the movie begins. He's doing like some of his boxing. You know, he's walking around the neighborhood after that, and he knows everybody around. He's at the pet shop, like, and he's looking at the dogs and everything. It's like really good. Like you get a sense of like, okay, this guy, he's just like this like big like dopey guy.
He's this big lug with a heart of gold.
Yeah. Who
just struggling to make ends meet, has this desire to be a fighter, but can never quite get anywhere with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, too, because, like, you know, he's, like, an older main character. You know, he's, like, in his 30s. It's kind of like, you know, he's still boxing, but, you know, there's that, like, stigma of, like, oh, you're getting a little too old for this type of thing.
I think he even says he's 30.
He does.
Yeah.
Like, because there's, like, the scene where, like, you know, his friend Paulie is just, like, talking about his sister, and he's like, my sister's 30, and she's not even married. And he's just like, I'm 30? Like... I don't know, it's interesting, and it's a lot more of a relatable movie than I thought it would be watching it again. I was just like, wow, like, even though this movie takes place, like, 40 years ago, I could relate to a lot of stuff happening in this movie still.
There's still just basic, everyday struggles that even in today, we still deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, at its heart, and Ryan Coogler said this perfectly, the Rocky series, when they're at their best, they're character dramas, and there's a fight scene at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what this is. This is the story of this guy, and it just happens to have a boxing match at the end, you know?
Yeah, so I guess, like, one thing that's interesting that I always kind of forget is he's kind of like, I don't know exactly, like, if he's, like, you know, working for the mob, but he's definitely working for, like, a loan shark.
Yeah, he's working for, like, a low-level loan shark. Is just, like, a debt collector.
Yeah, and it's weird, too, because, you know, this movie started a lot of boxing movies, and you think like that debt collector guy is gonna be kind of like, an asshole at the end of the movie and be like, oh, you got to throw the fight at this round or something
I put
like
money
that.
against you, Rocky.
But like, it's like even though that guy is kind of a horrible loan shark, he's kind of like a decent guy, at least for Rocky. He gives him money to like do training and stuff, and he's just like kind of like looking out for him a little bit.
Slips some extra money for his date with Adrian, and he's
Yeah.
in the crowd cheering him on at the end.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, his partner guy is, an asshole.
Yeah. Oh, he's like other goon.
Yeah. But like, I was just like, that guy kind of subverted my expectations with like the classic like mobster type of character.
I mean, it's arguably more realistic because it's just like he's not an inherent. I mean, he's doing bad-ish things, but
Yeah.
he's not like a cartoonish villain. He's like got an element of dimension to him where he's like, yeah, he's this 2-bit loan shark, but Rocky's like this nice. He's kind of a nice dumb guy. I got nothing against Rocky. I
Yeah.
like this guy.
He's not gonna be like, I own you. You're gonna do what I say.
I think a lesser movie would do something like that.
Yeah. There is like the part at the beginning where he's like, oh, I tell you to do something, you do it. But
Well, that has more to do with like we see what Rocky's working as like a heavy for the loan shark, but we
Yeah.
see his heart's not in it. He's too nice of a guy
Yeah.
to break somebody's thumb. Like he like threatens the guy a little bit, but he's like he won't go all the way through it because he just won't do it outside of a boxing ring.
yeah.
He won't hurt somebody. He's just not that guy.
Just a nice guy, and he's got pet turtles and a pet fish, and he talks to his animals when he gets home.
You know what's crazy? Those two turtles, they're throughout the series. I think they're occasionally played by other turtles, but the last time we saw them, Creed 2, same turtles.
That's insane.
They tracked them down. They're still alive.
Well, I mean, they're turtles.
I know. That's crazy, though.
So cool.
I love that.
Yeah. It's such a good movie, and, it's so, like, grounded, and I guess it's, like, more real compared to, like, where the franchise goes. And not that, the other Rocky movies are bad or anything, because I think they're all pretty good. But this one is, like, such, like, I don't know. It's so believable with everything happening.
It has that gritty 1970s reality that was very prominent in a lot of movies that came out in this era. There was just that, it's dirty, it's grimy, like, because they're just filming in Philadelphia. They're not on, like, there's, like, there's some, like, sets with, like, the boxing ring and all that stuff, but, like, they're just out there, and like, it's just this real neighborhood, and it's just, everything just has, like, a real natural feel to it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
there's no, like, oh, look at this glamorous movie star pretending they're like some hard luck person. No, Stallone was a hard luck person at this point in his life.
Yeah. Like, I wonder, like, he wrote the movie, so, I would assume a good chunk of that character of Rocky is just him, at least at that time.
I mean, it's often been said that the Rocky series is often a reflection of where Stallone was at that point in his life. This was him just trying to prove that what he can do.
Yeah.
Like Rocky. And even Rocky 2 is trying to prove he's not a fluke. And then, like, things get kind of crazy, get into his head a little bit. And then you get to Rocky Balboa, where he's, like, trying to prove that he still has it.
Yeah.
And then you get to even the Creed movies of someone seeking him out and being like, hey, let's do this thing. Which is almost a reflection of Ryan Coogler going like, I have this idea for a spinoff. It's very reflective.
But, yeah, like, you can very much see how much, like, Creed and this have in common. But we'll talk about Creed another time. I think we'll focus on Rocky. But, yeah, it's interesting because the movie, doesn't really have that many characters in it, but
the main focus is on Rocky, and then there's Adrian.
Yeah, and, the Rocky-Adrian stuff is actually, like, I liked it a lot more than I initially thought I would, because it's been a while since I watched this movie, and I don't know, it's, like, so believable and sweet. It's, like, Rocky's just, like, this goofy guy. Adrian's, like, a super shy girl working at a pet store. Like, he kind of likes her. He ends up, like, going on a date, kind of gets her, like, out of her shell and stuff. Like, there's a good moment where Adrian's brother is just like, you actually like my sister? And he's like, yeah, like we fill each other's gaps. Because like, he says the thing like he's like a moron because he goes like fighting all the time.
Yeah.
But like Adrian's like smart. So like they kind of like, complete each other. It's like really nice. And I usually don't get into like sappy stuff like that. But in this movie, it's like, this works really well. And it's not like weird and over the top or like, not believable like a lot of this stuff where you're just like, oh boy, here we go.
There's that freaking robot.
Yeah. But yeah, that part works really well in the movie for me, more than I thought it would. And I guess like one other thing too with the drama is the stuff between Rocky and Mickey is really good.
Yeah.
Like that scene where, Rocky gets the chance to fight Apollo Creed and like, Mickey comes to his apartment and is just like, hey, like, I want to train you all of a sudden. And, like, there was the scene before where, like, Mickey said to Rocky, like, oh, I took away your locker because you had all this potential, but instead you became, like, a bone breaker for, like, a loan shark and stuff. And there's, like, a good moment where, like, Rocky doesn't want to, like, have anything to do with Mickey because, like, Mickey wouldn't train him and stuff. And, like, Mickey kind of feels bad about it. But at the same time, like, Rocky kind of flips out, but ends up going after Mickey to get him to train him because he knows there's nobody else that really can train him. But it's, like, a good moment because it's, like, kind of like Rocky has to, like, swallow his, like, pride in a way. And it's just, like, this is, like, the only shot I'll get. And, like, this is the only guy around that could actually help me. And I was like, damn, this movie's so good. No wonder why it won an Oscar.
Yeah. Best picture.
Yeah.
Little touches that I always like with like Apollo Creed, obviously inspired by Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Especially if you look back at how this movie is, Apollo Creed, he lost the eye of the tiger. At this point in his career, he was a great fighter, and still to a degree is, but he's more of a showman now than a fighter.
Yeah, they say he's 42 and he's, kind of the real deal, but like you said, he's more of like almost like a businessman now.
Like there's a great moment when the news reporter is filming Rocky in the meat room, pounding violently on the cow carcass, while Apollo's manager, who doesn't have a name in this movie, but later we find out his name is Duke. He's in all these movies.
Yeah.
And he's watching, and he's like, Meanwhile, Apollo's just sitting there, just making business deals. He's not focused on the training. The match is a joke to him because his real contender got hurt. So he just picked some random, be like, I'll just drag this guy for a couple rounds, knock him out. God bless America. Like that's his entire thinking. He literally picks Rocky because of the name Italian Stallion. He just loves it. He thinks it's great.
Yeah.
And that carries over throughout the series because he just calls Rocky Stallion all the time.
Yeah, because it's like, he's like, oh, this name is so like marketable. Like that's where his mind is. And
absolutely, because he's more of a showman than a fighter.
Yeah.
And that hurts him in the end.
Yeah, that scene too, where like the manager's watching the TV and he's just like, "Hey, champ, you probably should look at this," but Apollo doesn't even look at it. And,
he doesn't care. He doesn't think anything of it.
And
I guess he doesn't realize what he's walking into until he walks right into it.
Yeah, because when they do finally fight, there's like that scene with the manager who is just like, Apollo actually gets knocked down by Rocky in the first round. He gets up, of course, and the manager says to him, like, this is not a show for this guy. This guy's here to fight, man. Like, and it's like, oh, snap. But I guess we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But that's we're talking about the characters, and that's the gist of Apollo's role in the story. Like, he's not in that much of this movie.
He really isn't. He's just few scenes and then the end.
Yeah. His most of his screen time is in the boxing ring.
Yeah, it's interesting too because before like Rocky starts training, he's like smoking and like drinking a lot and stuff. I was just like, man, I'm like 1976. I guess like everybody smoked like a chimney, but it's kind of like weird seeing like an athlete like smoking cigarettes pretty regularly. And like I know it happens for sure, but it's like you never think of that. But it's just like, god damn.
In those days,
it's like, man, like how did they like stay fit like smoking all the time?
They didn't?
Who knows? Maybe our generation, it was explained to us like it's very bad for you. But maybe it's more like it's very bad for you if you do it a lot. But while you're doing it, it doesn't matter. Except you have this like terrible habit of constantly having to step out of the room and smoke a cigarette and then smell like crap when you come back in a room. Don't smoke because it smells bad.
It really does.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, so it's interesting because, you know, Rocky, he's a boxer, but in some ways it's like he's not really taking his training all that seriously until he gets this like chance. And even before he actually learns what the chance is, he thinks he's just, you know, being scouted as like a sparring partner for Apollo Creed, so Apollo Creed could train in Philadelphia to get ready for his fight. But then it's just like, oh no, you're fighting him, and it's just like, what?
At first, he's just like, what? No, like, but yeah, you can't say no to an opportunity like that. And he gets paid a lot of money too.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's not even like a win or lose. It's just like they're gonna pay him $100,000 just to like do it.
Yeah,
which is pretty crazy. You know, it's like life changing, and you know, it's like his big break.
Yeah,
but you know, it's interesting because like the setup in the movie too is like, you know, he's down on his luck type thing. He's got his friend Paulie, who is kind of like a weird guy because like he wants to like work for like the loan shark for some reason, and like Rocky's all like, why do you want to do this? Like he's just like, it's not good work, man. Like it's like you got a better job. And
I think in his mind, he just sees it as a better job than working in a meat factory.
Yeah, and you know, like Paulie is kind of like, you know, he's pretty like depressed, I guess. You know, he's kind of older guy, drinks a lot. You know, he's kind of got like that like flip out for Rocky at the one point. Like he was kind of like looking for some fame where he showed the news reporters like the, you know, cooler Rocky trained in after they had that one confrontation in like the freezer. And then I guess Rocky just kept coming back to punch the meat.
Yeah.
But you know, it kind of resolves where like Rocky's kind of like, hey, if you could use my name to make money, then go ahead and do it. So he's got like the meat company logo on his like robe when he goes to the boxing match.
His ill-fitting robe.
Yeah, I guess so.
Which was apparently just like, oh, the robe doesn't fit right. We'll just, you know what? We'll just say this robe doesn't fit right in the movie.
Yeah.
Same thing with the banner. It's like, hey, that's not what I'm wearing. It's like, don't worry about it, Rocky.
Yeah.
Those were just like legitimate, like, oh, we kind of messed that up. Fuck it. Roll with it.
Yeah.
This is an independent production. We got to roll with it.
Yeah, I guess so. You know.
We don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
These days, they'd be like, we'll just touch it up with the computer.
Oh, man. Yeah. I think like one of the things in this movie that like this movie is known for is like the training, you know, with him going up the steps and everything.
Did you forget that the famous stair run is actually like a triumphant reprise of something from a little earlier?
Yeah, because he kind of tries to do it at the beginning when he starts training.
But it's just like he can barely make it.
Yeah. It's funny too, because like a lot of things like, you know, I don't know if this comes from the movie, but like the trope of like the raw eggs in the glass and then him drinking it in the morning, which I don't know if you can actually do that. I would think that would make you sick.
It looks like he actually did it though.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you can eat raw eggs. Like, part of me is like, can you do that?
Let's find out. You got any eggs?
I don't, but part of me is just like, that would be a more efficient way to like make breakfast instead of just like cooking eggs, you know? But I'm like, it'd probably be like so nasty.
Oh, it looked disgusting.
Yeah. But yeah, he cracks like 6 eggs in the glass and drinks it and then goes out for a run and then can't get up the steps.
Probably because of all those eggs he drank.
Yeah. But yeah, all the stuff with his training with like Mickey, and man, Mickey's voice is so good. That like classic, like, you know.
This guy smoked
3 packs of cigarettes.
He sounds like it.
Yeah.
He might have. I think I remember once reading that like, if he was a smoker, he had quit by the time like he was the Penguin in Batman.
Okay.
So like, even though he had like the lit cigarette all the time, he was trying not to smoke it, and like part of the reason why he was like it was because he was coughing.
Yeah.
So he just kind of worked it into the Penguin. Wah, 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 wah.
That's so interesting that that guy is the Penguin from Batman 66.
Yeah.
You know, and his voice is great. You know, he's like constantly, he's just like, "You're a bum, Rock."
You're gonna eat lightning and you're gonna crap thunder.
Yeah. But he's pretty fun.
He's an important character. He carries over for a few more movies, and his legacy carries into the modern stuff. Where that gym is still in business circa the first Creed.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. You know, it's funny because this movie, you know, so many imitators, like,
Oh yeah,
you know, Punch Out, Little Mac,
the guy
everything.
the guy that directed this movie, he went on to direct The Karate Kid.
That's insane. Man, two franchises that both like live on to this day
Yeah,
in like a weird like next generation type of way too.
yeah,
Because it's like Rocky kind of just went on for a while, but eventually, you know, we got Creed with the next generation, and then with Karate Kid, you know, we got Cobra Kai, and that's the next generation.
yeah.
It's weird. I wonder if there'll be a generation after that.
You never know. I've often wondered, I'm like, hey, is Michael B. Jordan going to start a movie in 20 years called Balboa, where he trains Rocky's grandkid to be a boxer? I'm pitching it now.
Just like the cycle continues, like a new person. It's like, I don't know, who knows? Like the Creed movies can continue on. They're doing a Creed 3, and
Yeah,
it's like the first one that really doesn't have any other type of connections to like the proper Rocky series, besides for like, you know, Creed being Apollo Creed's son. But
that's fine. They got to stand on their own 2 feet.
yeah,
They're out of nostalgia to mine.
yeah,
He can't fight Mr. T's son. That's redundant.
that'd be dumb. Or Thunder Lips.
No.
But I guess like, you know, it's like mostly gritty drama, and then we have the fight scene at the end, which
Yeah.
is really good. It's really bloody too. Like, you know, Rocky's wearing those white shorts, and you know, we don't see the whole fight. And honestly, I had to look online because I was just like, wait, is boxing like 15 rounds? But I looked online and it looked like it's like 12 rounds now, but I guess it was like 15 rounds back then.
I couldn't tell you.
That's a lot of rounds, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap.
Especially for what is basically just a glorified exhibition show match.
Yeah.
Like, I'm amazed Apollo let it go for that long. Like, we'll do 10, we'll do 5 rounds just against this nobody.
It's interesting because, you know, before the fight too, like Rocky's all nervous, and, you know, he's with Adrian, and he's like, I know I can't win, but I just want to go the distance, you know, and he does do that at least.
Yes.
But, you know, the fight's pretty good. You know, the beginning is great when Rocky actually, like, knocks Apollo down.
Which is inspired by a real thing that happened in a boxing match with, I think, Muhammad Ali. Some, like, underdog fighter managed to get to like, knock him down. I don't know the context or the circumstances of how he was able to do that, but that led to people being like, holy crap!
Yeah.
And, like, you know, it's kind of ran with that. I don't think that guy got as much of a moral victory like Rocky did. I think that guy might have made it, like Muhammad Ali's like, now I'm mad.
B time, baby.
I think Muhammad Ali made him pay for that, but
Yeah.
Rocky gets more of a moral victory by lasting the entire fight.
Yeah. And, you know, it's good because, you know, Apollo definitely is, like, the better fighter, but, like, Rocky is just, like, tough and
Yeah,
scrappy.
especially
you know?
at this point, Rocky's best skill is his durability. Like,
Yeah.
obviously Apollo's landing more punches, but Rocky's taking them like a fucking champ.
Plus, like, I guess the thing of him being a southpaw, too.
Yeah.
Kind of, like, trips people up, he says.
Yeah.
It's like, different. But,
Because it's like you're so used to expecting a punch to come from one way. It's like, oh fuck, the haymaker's coming from this way.
yeah. It's interesting, you know, Rocky told, like, the story about, like, where this phrase southpaw comes from, because it's like the guy was facing New Jersey, and I'm like, hey, New Jersey!
What?
We're close to Philadelphia.
We are close to Philadelphia.
We're Philadelphia adjacent.
We're adjacent to a few things.
We are. Philly, New York. It's like we're the weird in-between state. We're the state where everybody lives.
We're the state that commutes to your state.
Pretty much. But yeah, it's fun though, you know.
Did this movie invent the training montage? I feel like it might have, or at least made it like popular.
Yeah, I was also wondering because I'm like, surely this can't be like the first movie about boxing, but like,
Probably not.
but it's probably like the most like well-known movie about boxing and changed like the game when it came to like making these type of movies.
It definitely changed the game, like, probably in sport movies in general.
Yeah.
The underdog story, the moral victory over an absolute victory, made that like that's maybe where you want to have like the classier ending. You go for that as opposed to the you win in the end. Because there's been quite a few like, I think what was it that I think it was the Bad News Bears. Apparently they have like more of a moral victory than an actual victory.
Interesting.
But I think they got a bunch of sequels, so they probably win eventually too, like Rocky did.
Yeah, I mean, so many, like this story is so good. So many imitators, like even recently, like there's an anime I really like called Megalobox, which is pretty much just Rocky except in the future, and people like box with like weird shit on their arms for some reason. But
I mean, there's even a lot of things that imitate the Rocky sequels.
Yeah.
Like, which Hitman was it that was just Rocky 4? Was it 2 or 3?
oh yeah,
And hell, what was that robot movie that just looked like a Rocky movie?
Real Steel.
Yeah.
I mean, Real Steel is literally just Rocky except with a robot.
Isn't there a Russian robot too? So it's a little Rocky 4?
No,
Or is there like
the robot's Japanese and he's called
Okay.
Zeus.
Oh, it's like a bigger robot,
Yeah,
right? Okay, so it's still Rocky 4.
Yeah, like
to a
all the
degree.
robots made by like,
Right.
it's like the undefeated like
Right.
robot made by the big Japanese conglomerate.
Yeah, that's a bit Rocky 4.
Yeah.
Right there. And hell, even non-sports or sports-esque movies, like the Dark Knight Rises kind of has Rocky 3 vibes to me, where the younger, more stronger opponent comes in and just wrecks shop,
Yeah.
and then he's got to come back and win again. Hell, I think Christopher Nolan even said so.
They're very, very good movies.
I mean, there's even a moment where like Mickey's just like, you can't fight this guy, Rocky, the same way Alfred's like, you shouldn't fight this guy, Batman.
Yeah. Well, there's the moment too where, when they're fighting, Rocky gets, they're pretty deep into the rounds now, and Rocky gets like hit and he's like on the ground and Mickey's just like, stay down, kid. You've done enough. Stay down. But like Rocky still gets up and it's just like, oh shit.
Got to the end.
It's like this kid's gonna like murder himself. Like, oh, that part where he's just like, cut me open with the eye. It's just like,
What is happening there?
Yeah.
Oh God. No.
I guess it's to like let like
let the blood out.
blood out
Yeah,
so he can open his eye again.
Just glad they kind of cut away from it.
It's very tame, and compared to like some other movies I've seen where they're just like, it's just like, oh God.
Yeah.
I remember there was that one game on the PlayStation 3. It's like Fight Night Round 3 or whatever, or Fight Night 3, where you would do the boxing and then you would go to your corners and you would have to like repair the boxer's like face and shit.
Oh,
and I'm
man.
just like, oh, that's like this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so many things in this movie.
I once read, I have no idea if this is 100% true or not, that Muhammad Ali didn't mind that Apollo was based on him, and it was just like, Apollo is the master of disaster. Damn, I wish I thought of that.
It's a pretty good title. Apollo 2 at the beginning of like the final fight is like so ridiculous.
Because he comes out as George Washington crossing the Delaware,
And
then
he's
he
throwing quarters at people too.
and then he changes into an Uncle Sam outfit.
Yeah, and he's like, I want you. Like,
That is taken to its most logical extreme in Rocky 4
yeah, I guess so.
with the living in America scene.
Yeah, it is kind of weird because it's also like a historical thing too, where it's 1976. It's like the bicentennial. So
Yeah.
it was like a big deal. It's just like, hey, like country's like 200 years now, so huge deal. But yeah, it's interesting. Like there's a whole patriotic element to it. So
It's marketability, man. That's what
I
Apollo
mean-
was thinking.
That's all he's thinking about.
Yeah. Should have thought about punching.
Yeah. After watching this movie too, it's just like, oh, I kind of want to watch the sequels now, just to see where it goes.
Well, you know what?
We'll get to them.
We will.
Yeah.
Because you know what? There's a new Creed movie coming out
Yeah.
by March, so we got time.
Indeed.
A lot of movies to get through.
But it's been a long time since I've seen the original Rocky, and it's one of those movies that's like, yeah, it's really good, and then you watch it, it's just like, holy shit, it is like even better than like I remember it to be. It's like such a good movie.
It's such a good. It's a feel-good movie. It has those low points, but that great moment at the end where he doesn't give a shit about the result. He went the distance, and he's just trying to find Adrian.
Yeah.
And then they profess their love for each other as the movie ends and the fanfare goes, and it's such an uplifting ending, even though he didn't win.
Yeah.
But the fact that he didn't win doesn't matter.
And it's interesting too because like the way the movie's like framed, and I don't know if it's intentional, but you just hear Rocky saying like Adrian, and then like it's almost in the background where you hear like Apollo Creed wins, but like it's not even focused on it. It's just like Apollo Creed winning is like a background moment at the end of the movie because it doesn't matter, like you said.
Because Rocky got what he wanted.
Yeah.
He's got the woman he loves, and he has pride now.
Yeah.
He has self-respect. He proved to the world what he could do.
Yeah. It's good. These like older movies too, they sometimes it feels like they end abruptly, but like this one like ends at the right moment,
Yeah. They knew exactly where to end it. This is, I would say in the 70s, they weren't like as abrupt as like a lot of older movies where it's just like, all right, movie's over, get out. It was just like, dun, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Like you get to that right moment of like, yeah, all right, we're good.
Yeah, because sometimes with like modern movies, you kind of think to yourself like, movies should like end at a certain point, but then it always has like, almost like a little bit of an epilogue at the end, and the more you think about it, the more it's just like, do we really need that, or can we just like end at the cool moment and then?
It depends.
Yeah.
It really depends. Sometimes you need that satisfying character resolution to see, or like get an idea of what happens next. Sometimes it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We see like that moment of triumph with Rocky it's perfect. We don't. I mean, obviously we know what happens next because Rocky 2 literally starts fucking 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
But in that moment, we don't need to see what happens next because we saw everything we needed to see.
Yeah, and I guess when this movie was made, it was framed in a like, this is my one chance to like make a movie, so it's like kind of like a one and done movie. But then little would you know that there's 5 sequels to this movie, and then I mean, if you count the Creed movies, 7 sequels to this movie.
Yeah.
So with an 8th on the way.
Yeah.
So kind of lives on.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a decade-spanning franchise.
Yeah.
There's not that many installments compared to others, but their quality is generally pretty high.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think I've mentioned all the moments in this movie I really like. It's a good movie. I think if you haven't seen it, you definitely should go see it.
And I'll say this, you don't have to be a sports fan to enjoy it. I don't give a fuck about boxing.
Yeah.
I love this series so much. I tried to watch boxing once, and I was like, this is boring.
Yeah.
But the character of Rocky Balboa is a great character, and I loved seeing his story in this movie and even all the other sequels and spin-offs. It's that good.
It is.
It doesn't matter whether you like sports or not. You care enough about the person that you'll follow them into the ring and be like, just do what you got to do, Rocky.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I guess go watch Rocky, and I guess that's the Out of Touch podcast for this week. Good night, everybody.